Are you ready, Bill?
I think so.
Bill is ready. Ready for what's in the sky for September and October.
This is God speaking. Oh, I need my little laser thingy. Just going to test it. And yes, there we go. Take the glasses off too. Hello, people. What's in the sky? This is the toughest job in the world is to follow Fred. I think this is this is going to be a talk which is going to put your lighting standards people to shame. So I'm going to be talking about what's in the sky over the next month, which is late September, early October. So tonight it's fairly formulaic. Tonight we're well, first of all, we're on the lands of the Bunurong and the Wurundjeri peoples of the Kulin Nation. I am going to be talking about general conditions at this time of year, and then I'm going to get into the moon, and then I've got a graph that's going to bend your brain, and I'm going to try to explain it. I don't know whether I'll actually be able to do it or not. Then I'll talk about planets, and then an alleged dwarf planet. And then I'll get into the actual what's in the sky. That's the constellations, the bright stars. And then I'll get into the suggested targets tonight. Thank you very much, Lee. So I've split it into visual and photographic, and then I'm going to talk about the early rises for tomorrow morning. And then I'm going to talk about a couple of updates. So the T Coronae Borealis nova, of course, and Tsuchinchan Atlas. So, okay, let's get into it. General conditions at this time of year. We are approaching the equinox. Hooray! If you happen to be living in the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, of course, we're going to be losing our light fairly quickly. And you can see it when you're out in the mornings walking a dog and stuff like that. You get out and you don't need to use your headlights quite so much anymore. And, so we're starting to see it. And at the time of the equinox, that's when you're actually losing light at the fastest rate. So sunset's just after 6. It's dark about an hour later. Next month, it's going to be 6:30 or 6:34, and that's AEST, of course. We go into summertime in some stage in the next couple of weeks. So, but I've left that there so you can compare it. Sunrise is about, again, 6:30, and it's going to be dark until, that's not right. Oh, that's sunrise. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, it's so that's next month. It's 5:41 a.m. Again, AEST. Milky Way season. If you're a Milky Way aficionado, you're going to have to get on your bike. There are still opportunities. You're going to have to talk. You're going to have to point towards the west, and it does mean you'll be able to get some nice stuff on the ground with the Milky Way behind it. So it's not entirely over yet. Now, for young astronomers, let's see. There are 2 eclipses this month. And how are they different? And why won't we be able to see either of them? So, oh well, too bad. Okay, for the selenologists, the cheese lovers, full moon is on Wednesday, the 18th of September, which is just a couple of days away. Now it crosses to the north on the 18th. Remember this date. And because it crosses to the north on the same day, there's a lunar eclipse, which we can't see. And perigee is also on the same day, which means that the media is going to go bananas because there's a super moon, which means utterly nothing. It rises at sunset and sets at sunrise, which is what a full moon does. And for the week following that, we view it at night, and then in the morning as waning gibbous. Last quarter is on Wednesday the 25th. Again, it rises at midnight, sun sets at noon, which is what last quarter moons do. And then we'll be seeing it later as a waning crescent. In the morning, that's when you look at it, and in the early afternoon, it's good for daytime viewing. It's going to be moving out of the northern hemisphere, which means it will be low in the sky but coming up. Crosses to the south on the 2nd, which means again 2nd is the solar eclipse, which we again can't see. The new moon. I'll just get through this fairly quickly because the rest of it's less important. New moon is on Thursday, the 3rd of October. It's a mini moon, which actually is relevant to the solar eclipse. It rises at sunset and sets at so it runs at sunrise and sets at sunset. The sun, you can't see it because it's a new moon. First quarter is after the next meeting, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. Now here is the graph. Here we go. What I've done is I've got a number of bits and pieces of information. I've got declination of the moon, which is this one here, and I've got the declination of the sun, which is that one there. But I've also got the illumination of the moon, which is how much light it gets, and the distance the moon is away from the Earth. Now I've put these all on the same graph, so I mean otherwise it's just nuts. So what does all this mean? Well, there's the illumination, which means that up there, full illumination is a full moon, and down here is the new moon. Can people see that, or should I move a little further away? All right. So the next one is the
You can never see a new moon.
True, Perry. The lunar declination, that's the place on the Earth you have to stand for the moon to be going over directly over your head. So that's in the south. Don't worry about that, it's surrounding Earth. This is when the moon is in the, no, not that one. That one. This is where the moon is in the south, and that is when the moon is in the north. Lunar distance, obviously, mini moon and maxi moon, supermoon. Furthest away, the smallest appearance. And this is the solar declination. As you can see, it moves out of the northern hemisphere and into the southern hemisphere around about that point there. So now, what's happening? That's an equinox. And but here is where the declination of the moon and the declination of the Earth are the same, which means that they are in the same line when they go over your head. If you're standing about 2 degrees north of the horizon of the equator, and guess what? That is a full moon, meaning the Earth, the sun, and the moon are all in a line. So you get a lunar eclipse because the moon is behind, but not quite, which means it's a partial eclipse. So, and then over here is those lines cross again, and at the same time we've got a new moon, which means that you've got a solar eclipse, but there's always a but. Any moon, which means it's an annular eclipse. So this diagram can give you a lot of information, and it can also befuddle a whole pile of people. All right, let's get into the planets, shall we? Planets over the next month. Mercury is currently a morning object. It rises before 6 a.m. Today. It's going to be good viewing of late because it was brightest yesterday and greatest elongation last week. But Mercury moves very, very quickly, so it's going to get closer to the sun and become an evening object by early October. So, and this information you get in the back pages of the ASV yearbook. Venus, I suppose you've all noticed, Venus is really, really bright at the moment. It's nearly maximum illumination, and it's an evening object, and you practically hear it, but it is set now. It sets at 8:15. Mars rises at after midnight. It's going to keep rising earlier, and it's going to move towards retrograde in December. It's got its next close pass in what, halfway through next year or something like that, isn't it? People are nodding blankly. Okay, Jupiter rises ahead of Mars, so it's about 1:15. It's going to be consistently earlier until it goes to opposition in early December. It's going to start its retrograde fairly shortly, so it's going to start to move backwards, back towards the Pleiades. It came past the Pleiades before, it's going to go backwards. So it's retrograde motion is something which I love because I did philosophy of science, and it's something that really turned the brains of a lot of very, very intelligent people into pretzels. So, but I think they figured it out eventually. Saturn opposition was last week. which I don't know if anybody saw photographs of the retroreflective rings. They glowed very nicely. It's rising at sunset, and it's in a great position now for viewing, especially from the Troutland Sims telescope, which is a refractor telescope, which is far superior to the Mercer. So Uranus it rises just before midnight, and it's good morning viewing. The opposition is in mid-November. You'd need a reasonably decent telescope to see Uranus. No jokes, please. And Neptune is another overnight object. It follows Saturn, rises about 6:45. Pluto, the planet, rises in the early afternoon. It's about sets about 4:30. It's a great object overnight if you can find it. So, can you see it? This is a photograph taken by Laurie Chern, who's an astronomer who works out of Orbust. So now that star there, HIP 99903, that is magnitude 7.8, and that's the brightest star in that field. By the way, you notice that field is not corrected. I didn't have any flats for that, or Laurie didn't. Pluto is magnitude 14, and there it is down there. So he nearly missed it. It's hard to hit. So Stuart Beveridge, who I think I ripped this off without permission, but he put it on Facebook, so fair game, I reckon. So Stuart found Pluto. And the best way of finding Pluto is you take one photograph, and then the next day you take a second photograph, and the one that moves is probably Pluto. It might be an asteroid, but it's probably Pluto. So that's how you get Pluto. Okay, so going to the stars for the evening. This is tonight. This is about half an hour ago, I think. So Southern Cross is at about 3:30 on that clock, which is, well, as you can see, I'll just get rid of that clock. There you go. So there's our Southern Cross is one of our three constellations that we use as road signs. The other one being Scorpius, and the third one, of course, is Orion, which is not here. He's taking that night off. So now the moon is also stuck in Scorpius, but that will move fairly quickly. Don't worry about that. We'll organise that. The orientation stars, I'm going to start west and move around to the north. So Antares is the yellowish-red one in the that's stuck in Scorpius. Speaker is, well, if you can see Speaker, you're pretty good. Either you're up early because it's already set, but yeah, it's there. Vega is low in the north-northwest, and again low. It may be behind trees. Certainly from LMDSS, it tends to be behind trees. Altair is easily found in the north, bang on the meridian at this stage. Easy one to find. Saturn is highish, slightly north of east, and I would not advise you to use it as an orientation star because it moves. Fomalhaut, on the other hand, is a lot easier to find. It's due east and high. Achernar, lowish in the southeast, and finally Canopus is probably also in trees down the southeastern horizon. There's the Milky Way. It's well past the zenith, very late into the season now. So, visual targets for the evening. I've just taken some at random. So clearly Venus. It's a bit north of west. It's gone, so it's not in the in this thing. Alberio, I was trying to hit the other day and couldn't find it because we had some clouds, but Alberio is a beautiful, beautiful multicoloured double. So I would, if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend it. It's a lovely little thing. It's fairly low in the north. It doesn't get any higher than well where it is there. So it's a good one to get, but only at certain times of year. Beta Crucis and Antares. If you get the chance to have a look at the two of those, check out the difference in the colour, because one of them is yellow and one of them is red and one of them is blue. So you can tell the difference in the colour and therefore the temperature, and learn some stuff. So it's Antares is, I think, around about 2,500 Kelvin, and Mimosa is about 25,000 Kelvin. Actually, it might be 26,000. It's a hot little star. Jewel box, Probably one of your last chances to see the jewel box, and if you're looking at Mimosa anyway, it's not very far away, so you should be able to just give the telescope a bit of a nudge. Omega Centauri is also over there. Again, last chance to see, but 47 Tuc is coming. Don't worry. Now, in the Scorpius area, we've got Beta Scorpii, the left of the claws. That's a lovely little double. Which is easy to find at this stage, and it's desperately easy to find because it's one of the major stars there. I love this. 6231 is called the False Comet Nebula, which is neither a comet nor a nebula. So yes, it's false. It's a medium-sized cluster. Have a look at it if you can. It's easy to find. It's right next to that right-angle star. I don't even know what that one's called. Butterfly and Ptolemy. I just thought I'd drag these photographs out again because I kind of like them. But again, it's getting a little bit late in the season. But if you're showing people something in a telescope, start off with M7. It's easy to find, and it's really it's nice and big. It's about 1 point something or other degrees wide. So yeah, easy to find, easy to explain. Wild duck cluster is something which I haven't actually got a shot of, but it's a very busy little thing. So if you can find it, it's at the other end of the galactic core, so you can find that. Then I don't know, finish with Alpha Centauri. It's an easy cluster, easy double. This is something which I haven't been able to hit yet. The coat hanger asterism. It's CR399. It does actually look like a coat hanger, with the sort of roundabout there, and these ones are straight. But I've never actually hit it. I think with the Troughton and Sims, you'll need the military eyepiece to see it because it's really big. Alpha Capricorni is another final double. I think it's an optical double, not an actual double. So that's the only thing it's different. Of course, you can't do anything but get Saturn. You wait until the last one for it because otherwise it's a bit low. Saturn is doing a fun little thing at the moment. This is one of Con's photographs. Hello, Con, if you're watching. Thank you. It's closing its rings up in March of next year. It will be completely closed. But more, it's got its equinox in May, which means that it won't be casting any shadows either, which means that between, let's say, April of next year, Saturn will be entirely naked. It'll be kind of weird to see. It's probably another one of those things that the media will say it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Finally, 47 Tuc, it's back. It's rising there. So they're your visual targets for the evening. I think that's all. Yes, that's all. Right. Photographic stuff stolen brazenly from Facebook. Rick Zhang, who lives in Perth these days, I had a yarn to him the other day. If you're watching, hello again. He took this marvelous shot of the both sides of the Veil Nebula. It's a very wide angle. I think he took with that with a 250mm lens. Eddie Pang always gets a shot in my talks. I think that's fantastic. That's simply called LDN43. I don't know if it has a proper name, but it's not very far out of Scorpius. Clive Garner gets a shot today. Clive is not known as an astrophotographer. He's known as a high precision tinkerer, but he must have been a test shot with testing somebody's mount or something. Eagle Nebula. This is my photograph, and I put it in simply to irritate Diego. I'm colorblind. I cannot see that is green, but apparently it is. So he looks at it and just his brain explodes. It's hilarious. Dumbbell Nebula. Jeff Healy has got a nice shot. This is from a couple of weeks ago. The Dragons of Ari. Kelly has taken a lovely photograph of this. I don't know if that's a 533 or not, but it's a square image, and she's got the planetary nebula at the bottom. Helix Nebula. Pardon? It was. There you go. So yes, again, another one of my photographs. It's green, sorry, but It's there. A remote image that I took just the other day. This is really nothing much more of a test image. You can see there's a lot of noise in that shot, but that's a sculptor galaxy, which is on its way up. So it's sculptor season. And I think that's about it for the Facebook lot. So tomorrow morning, facing south, get rid of that. Oh no, there's the Southern Cross is going to come around about 8 o'clock, and Orion is up, approaching the meridian, and we've got a bunch of planets. We've got Pluto, which is gone. We've got Saturn. We've got Neptune, which doesn't get a mention there. We've got Uranus, which is not far from the Pleiades. There's Jupiter, which is about to reverse and go back towards Uranus. Mars is further back, and that's about it. Next, Tsuchinchan is still not quite viewable yet, but you might be able to get it tomorrow morning if you're very, very lucky and it's not cloudy, but you do have a small window of opportunity. It rises at 5:18 and the sun rises at 6:28. So, but I'll get back to that in a second. Come on. Right. Now the sad news. Okay, I've made a few observations on the 10th of July and the 28th of July and the 5th of August and the 7th of August and the 22nd of August. And as you can see, it has done sweet FA. So I got one last shot on the 7th of September, and this is what the all-sky camera looked like. It was not good viewing. And you can see that there's still a little bit of sunshine or sun glow left over, but those clouds were not looking good. So I did get a shot, and as you can see, it's a terrible photograph, really bad signal to noise ratio, but you can tell that it has done, again, nothing. So what's going to happen is it's going to get squashed between the sun and, basically it's squashed by the sun. It's going to disappear, and we are not going to be able to see what happens when it goes off. It's going to be next visible in late January, which means that chances are it will have gone, but I don't know. Maybe there's some spectroscopic way of finding out whether it's happened. Finally, Tsuchinchan Atlas. These are screenshots from Stellarium because I don't have any photographs of it. Well, actually, I do have a photograph of it, but not from a few weeks. Now tomorrow morning, it does have a little bit of a time. These are at 5:30. So okay. A week and a half later, it's risen, and they're saying it's going to get a little tail. 28th of September is the perihelion, which means that's when it gets its warmest, and so it's going to get start to get the tail going. A few days later, 2nd of October is the maximum elongation, but of course it's coming around a little bit, so you can't really tell. But this, I reckon, is probably our best time for viewing, because after that it goes back down, and it's come from behind the sun towards us, and it's going to go between the sun and the earth, and then it's going to turn around and become this is the morning. It's going to turn around and become an evening object, but that's after next month. So with any luck, we'll get some images for next month, and please, if you've got any, put them up on Facebook, and I will plagiarise them without hesitation. Okay, so some dates. 17th of September, there's a Saturn-Moon conjunction. Then there's 21st, Neptune is at opposition. Then there's the spring equinox, which probably doesn't hurt. 28th of September is the perihelion. Then the maximum elongation a few days later of Tsuchinchan Atlas. And then daylight savings begins, so don't forget to change your clocks and stuff. Then 9th of October, Jupiter moves into retrograde. And if you've got a chance and it goes off, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bill. What I might do for you is take a photo of the wild duck cluster through the 12-inch Mercer.
Will it work?
Oh, yeah, it will. I'll be able to see the wild duck cluster because it's a better telescope.
Them's fighting words.
They are fighting words. Bill and I have a running battle as to which telescope at the Melbourne Observatory is better. I think the 12-inch Mercer is, and Bill thinks the Troughton Sims is.
Yeah. Blake was demonstrating with me on Monday at the Mercer.
And he said the 12-inch is better, didn't he?
No, he didn't actually. He didn't say much. But what I really think I should do is I'll come and demonstrate at the Mercer once.
Yep.
And then I'll say refractors are crap and reflectors are the bee's knees, and I'll just gaslight everybody.
See, I love reflectors, but I use 2 refractors. I'm conflicted.
I use 2 refractors. They're these ones.
Well, thank you very much, Bill. Wonderful tour of the night sky. I'll chop that one up as well as I do the other ones, and we'll put that on separately on our YouTube. So if you just want to watch just that, it'll be on our YouTube to watch.
You want to watch me and not Fred?
Yeah, people like you. You're a friendly guy. Once again, thank you to Fred. He's done a semi-runner. He's on the radio at the moment talking to some people in Canberra and New South Wales. But he is hanging around for those who are here who want to have a chat with him afterwards. He said as soon as he's done there, he'll be back to have a chat with everybody. Thank you once again to everybody for coming along. Next month, trying to still lock in a man by the name of Kobe Brown, who's an astrophysicist who has done work with NASA and Google and Apple. But if I can't get him, we have got somebody else lined up possibly as well. So more information on that probably in the next week as to who will be here next month. No Melbourne Observatory tonight because it's raining outside. And thank you, Bill, again, for your tour of the night sky. And we'll see everybody next month. And for those who are here who haven't already had supper, supper is on again following the talk. Oh, and the library will be open again in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Yep, there we go. We'll see you next month.